Hi everybody, it's Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. I am so excited about this Franklin Christoph pen that I have. I've actually had it for, I'm guessing close to 2 years, maybe a little more, and it never really grew on me. So the story is, I had seen a pen like this on Held in Writes when I was right at the beginning of my fountain pen journey. And I was so drawn to this. Let me see if I can get that to focus. I was really drawn to this look of antique glass. I fell in love with it and thought, boy, someday I would like to have one of those pens because I really like the aesthetic of that. Well, a while later, a friend was selling hers and she offered it to me at a nice discount, and I took her up on it. The trouble is, it came with an F Sig nib. That's hard to say. So I looked that up so I would speak about it more accurately, but it's basically, it falls in between a stub and an italic, and it was fine. And I've never been drawn to the fines as a rule. My writing, I feel like, looks better with a bolder line. I think that's part of it. I don't write small and delicately. I have big handwriting and I like a bigger line. And I just feel like it helps me control my writing and the pen on paper. So I got the F Sig. This is it. And it's really flat, as you can see on the side. And there's very little of that little ball thing at the end. I'm sure there's a name for that. So I decided to try the broad nib, and I ordered a nib unit from Franklin Christoph. And the way this attaches is this whole black section that's holding the nib unit unscrews. So you just kind of grab that carefully, but with a little bit of a firm hand, and twist. The whole thing comes out. Well, you can see here. And then the other piece, twist back in. The other day I was thinking I needed to try to expand my experience a little bit, so I put the F Sig nib on and wrote with it. And it's a very funny thing because what I felt like it did for me, and I have used it, but it just didn't click. But I thought, okay, give it a try. Stop being a predictable broad nib person, try something else, expand your horizons. When I was writing with this in the pen, I felt like I needed to write quickly. Isn't that funny? It's just like, it just made me want to write fast. It also made me want to write small because it is such a tiny little fine nib. There we go. So you can write small with it, and it does help the writing to look crisp, but I feel like with my handwriting, it didn't do it any favors. The other day when I decided to try the F Sig, didn't like it, I put the broad back in and tried it with the Lamy Tourmaline, and I love this setup. I love this match. I was really close to seeing if I could find a buyer for this. I have not been able to stop writing. I feel like I can write forever with this. It's smooth, it's flowy, it's not gushy. It doesn't gush out, but it flows so steady and so thoroughly. It's just a great writing experience. I haven't been real keen on this ink, actually. It's not bad, but it just wasn't my go-to ink. This writing is absolutely wonderful. I keep reaching for this pen now. Before I made myself write with it, now I'm loving writing with it. I will point out a few features if you're unfamiliar with this Franklin Christoph style, but up here is where it actually threads, right up in there. You have this beautiful glass look to the cap and the end of the pen. That was a feature that, I'm trying to get it to focus, that really drew me to this. I just thought that was such a neat effect. So it has this like bumpy look to it, which is emulating an antique glass, or some have nicknamed this Coke bottle glass. And I read somewhere too that it also gets additional, I don't know that they're cracks per se, but that this plastic, this acrylic, will kind of develop more of that crackly look that just adds to it. I don't know if that's true, but I do feel like I'm noticing, like through in here, a little bit more of that than I noticed at first. And it may just be that I know this pen a little bit better now and I'm looking closer at the features. It does not have a clip, which I never use other than for maybe clipping it into my pen case, or, you know, to keep it from rolling. And at first it feels a little bit funny. Like I feel like I kind of have to get my fingers situated on it. But once they're in place and I start writing, it is so nice. This is a Cosmo Air Light again. I also have the new Tomoe River that I write on, and I've been writing on Regalia paper, and this just works like a dream on all of those. Let's see what other features might be of interest. It's hard to get some of these things to show up, but Franklin Christoph is etched in and has the 03, which is super handy. For the longest time I was like, what number is that again? So that's there. And then if you're interested in nibs, I honestly don't look at nibs all that much, all that carefully. I just pay attention to how they write, but it does have the Franklin Christoph logo on there and some little fancy swirly doodads. You can eyedropper this. I haven't, maybe I tried that one, so maybe the person I bought it from did that. And that's where she had the trouble with the ink stain. That didn't really bother me. I was buying it used and discounted, and I don't even see hardly that pink anymore. I think it was in here. But anyway, it's just a converter, and that works marvelously with that. Gotta say, those are super fun. So that screws on there. The whole nib unit attaches or screws in or out, so which is kind of neat because you can try other nibs. I love this big number 6 size nib. I think it is delightful. I'm sorry that it stains. You can see that here. That's too bad, but then again, it has that look of being used and loved, and if I'm careful with there not being a clip, it really hasn't been a problem. I just want to make sure it doesn't roll off the table someday. So I don't know. I just wanted to pop in and say, revisit those pens of yours maybe that you didn't have an immediate connection with. I'm certainly glad I did with this, and all the inks I tried just was so experience, but this one just clicked. I think I picked it because I felt like it was sort of a good match for it. You don't really see it because of the converter. I guess if I did an eyedrop fill, maybe you would notice that a lot more. I'm just a little leery of doing that with this pen. But I am so happy I revisited it, tried it again, tried yet another ink, went back to my trusty broad nib, and it has been wonderful writing. Absolutely loving it. So I'm happy to have that pen, and I imagine I will be hanging on to it. It's the only Franklin Christoph I have. It's unique. I'll probably keep it now that I know that I can find a good ink combination that works so nicely with it. I'd be very interested in hearing if you have a Franklin Christoph pen, what inks have you found to work well with it? I know we each have our own preferences. We like wetter or drier or whatever inks, different colors. But if there's a kind of ink, a brand that you think has worked well, flowed well, been a delightful writing experience for you, please comment below. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.